Hey guys, Mike here from Study Service. Wow, what a book. So, The Compound Effect is a book that I found after wanting to research the actions and effects of repeatedly doing something over and over again. We all know the term compound interest, and the book The Compound Effect, written by Darren Hardy, Darren is the publisher of Success Magazine, basically goes through the concept of doing one thing multiple times over and over again over a long period of time and how it stacks up. I've often used the analogy in a lot of my blog posts talking about if you want to get anything done, what you'll find is it's kind of like carving steps into a mountain. If you've got a sheer mountain face, there's two types of people. There's people who will try and just run up there as fast as they can, or they'll listen to other people kind of at the bottom of the mountain saying what the best way is. And some people will say, oh, you've got to climb up all fours, you've got to sprint up to the top. And there's another very small group of people who will buy a hammer and a chisel and they will carve steps into the side of the mountain. Now, for the first week, the first month, the first year, it looks like carving steps into the side of the mountain is a slow, arduous process that doesn't really seem to yield you any results. However, what we find is that over time, people who try to just kind of run up the side of the mountain and sprint up end up getting tired, they fatigue, they slide back down, whereas we're continually carving steps into the side of the mountain. And this was something I knew happened. I knew that it was like a phenomena that existed, and that's why I looked up the compound effect. I basically just Googled the compound effect, and it turns out that Darren Hardy, who is the publisher of Success Magazine, had written about this very concept. I also talked about this a few weeks ago on one of my blog posts on compound blogging, how repeated blogging over time is actually far more effective and far more useful than doing it once or twice and having one or two killer posts. Let's try that again. Goddamn microphone was slipping down. So what we find, this book is basically written for anyone who runs a business, who is an entrepreneur, who wants to get ahead in life, who wants to lose weight. And it's really interesting. It says on the back here, no gimmicks, no hyperbole, no magic bullet. The compound effect is based on the principle that decisions shape your destiny. Little everyday decisions will take you either to the life you desire or disaster by default. Darren Hardy, publisher and editor-director of Success Magazine, presents The Compound Effect, a distillation of the fundamental principles that have guided the most phenomenal achievements in business, relationships, and beyond. Here's why I love this book. A lot of business books, and at the moment I'm reading about a book a week, so I've got through a lot of them, talk about one particular key area that a particular entrepreneur or a particular very successful person has used. For example, Russell Brunson uses his value ladder to sell about funnels. Ryan Dice has the CVO. Frank Kern has advertising, turning it into publishing. Some people talk about content marketing, some people talk about selling funnels, selling services, productizing, all this kind of stuff. But there's no real kind of rule of thumb for why people are successful until you read this book. It's quite a short book. It's only 160 pages. You can pretty much smash through it in a day. I did. And it's got at the end, load of worksheets and things, which are very, very useful. Of course, it does mention a few of the other programs, which I'm very tempted to kind of go on board with. One of the first stories that it kind of goes on about is you've got three guys, right? Tom, Dick, and Harry. And they have pretty much the same job. They had the same upbringing. They're relatively similar guys. They're all married. Tom decides that every single day, instead of having a donut and a coffee on the way to work, he's going to have an apple and he's going to walk the last 2 miles. Okay. He also understands that he's going to read 10 pages of a book every single day. That's it. Okay. Dick realizes that he's going to do nothing and stay exactly the same. Okay, he's going to change absolutely nothing. He likes where he is. He's going to do exactly everything the same as he's done. And Harry decides, on the way to work, he is going to get a donut and a coffee. And while he's there, he might as well get a breakfast from like McDonald's or something. And instead of going to the gym or reading, he's going to continue watching TV. Now, over the period of a week or a month or even the first few years, there's probably not going to be an enormous amount of difference in where they are in their lives, because of those small, tiny changes. I mean, those things combined maybe take half an hour out of your day in total. However, eventually, over time, the results compound to the point where Tom, who decided to go out and do something different every single day. He walks to work, he's eating an apple instead of having a donut and coffee, and he reads 10 pages of a book. He's finding himself becoming more educated, he's worth more, he's more energetic, he's more awake, he's losing weight. In the middle there, Dick has decided to do nothing. Is pretty much where he is. He's probably a few pounds heavier, frankly, because if he's not active, he's not doing anything differently. And he's basically the same where he is, except he's probably a bit more bitter now because he's seen someone else go up. And on the other side, Harry, who's decided to kind of decide to watch TV instead, binge on garbage food in the morning. He's noticed that there's been a big effect going downwards. He's probably gained a lot of weight, probably lost a little bit of hair, and he's probably way more bitter. Now, those guys all had the same choices, and they all made the same tiny, tiny decisions over time, repeatedly, over and over and over. And what happens is they've ended up compounding their effects. So individually, those one individual actions don't mean anything, but over time, over a period of 10 weeks, 10 months, 10 years, they stack up to have enormous benefits. And I talk about this a lot during my compound blogging sessions. In the same way that we talk about compounded interest on investing, regularly investing $100 every single month is far more profitable because of the eventual yields that it'll give you over time, rather than initially going out investing $2,000 or writing one blog post and then nothing, and then writing another really good blog post and then nothing. You're actually better off sticking to mediocre, lower level activities repeatedly to generate results in the long run. And that was the kind of the big takeaway from me from this book by Darren Hardy, The Compound Effect, was sticking to one or two actions that are actually pretty easy. They become a habit, they become a routine, they become part of your daily life. Even if they are mediocre actions, by doing them repeatedly over and over and over, that actually puts you in better stead than trying to do like one huge action or trying to like push forward with one huge thing. The typical example that he gives in the book, that Darren gives in the book, is people who want to then lose weight. They sign up, they work out at the gym 5 times a week, they change their diet, they want to go ahead and do all these incredible things and completely change their lifestyle straight away. And it's not sustainable. They can't do it for long periods of time. 2 or 3 weeks in, they're exhausted, they want to change it. Whereas committing to go once a week and just saying, nope, that 1 hour is workout time, and repeatedly doing that every single week over a period of 2 years is far more beneficial than kind of pushing forward for 3 weeks, maybe doing the equivalent amount of time in a much shorter period, and hoping for those kind of results. It just doesn't work. So the idea is that the more healthy decisions and habits that we build up over time, they compound, and the momentum that you bring, that's kind of this character he brings into the book called Big Mo, who stands for momentum, is about, it's not the 50th blog post or the 51st blog post that gets you the most amount of traffic. It's the fact that you've got the weight of all the previous blog posts before it. It's Michael Phelps didn't become an all-time Olympic champion because of the one race he did. He did it because of the hundreds of races and hundreds of hours worth of practice that he put in beforehand. So the idea is that by repeatedly committing to one or two key actions in your life over and over and over and over and over, they stack up, and the benefits far outweigh eventually any amount of time that you would have put in. It's kind of one of the problems with compound interest, is you end up making money on your money so quickly you can't spend it as quickly as you need to. So yeah, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. One of the other things he talks about is how to commit to those habits, the why of why you do it. Really, really interesting analogy about walking between 2 buildings and one of them's on fire and you're on a plank, 50 stories in the air. Very, very interesting. But yeah, definitely check it out. It's 160 pages. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, who is the publisher and editor, I think he's the editor-in-chief or the chief editor, editorial director, I should say, of Success Magazine. Absolutely outstanding book. If you're ever struggling to think about, okay, why is it that it's taking me longer to get results? It's probably because you don't have the right habits and the right actions in place. Interesting point made in the book is that the compound effect is always in place. It's always happening. It's always going forward. It's always going ahead. It's up to you to make those tiny decisions going ahead. Basically that's everything to the book. Absolutely loved it. It is quite short. I would have liked a little bit more depth on some of the case studies perhaps in the compound effect, but it does have a lot of exercises in the book. It redirects you, of course, to a few websites where you can sign up. And ultimately, yeah, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Very, very, very good book. Check it out if there's anything in your life that you want to make massive changes towards, even if you don't have to change your everyday routine. I'm Mike from Sell Your Service, and yeah, keep building those funnels.